Hello everyone. This is a short video about a project called #Europe, and this particular video is aimed at developers, people who might be interested in combining machine translation, automatic semantic analysis, human curation, faceted search, social media, putting them all together to create a machine-assisted multilingual curation engine for any sort of long-form content on any topic. So that's the video, that's what we're going to be going through. What this does is it provides you a short introduction to these specifications. It's about 40 pages of specs here. Now these specs are very much a first draft. The idea is to get from you a ballpark figure for building the #Europe site. Now that's a working title, by the way, but I'm going to call it #Europe for the sake of this video. So a ballpark figure for building the minimum viable product. There are some other ideas as well in the specs, but it sets out the minimum viable product in a certain amount of detail. But also, we're quite happy for these specs to provoke suggestions and questions from you. So you're more than welcome to come up with better ideas for how we could do what we want to do. So very quickly, what is #Europe about? It's actually a reboot of this site, bloggingportal.eu, which is a curation website focusing on blogs about EU policy. But don't let that turn you off. The system we want to build should allow anyone to set up a machine curation site for any form of long-form content on any topic. But doing it for EU affairs will mean that tackling multilingualism will be integral to the system. So let's have a look then at bloggingportal.eu, this site that we're trying to reboot. Now, this has been going for a few years. Already, it has curated over 317,000 posts from over 1,100 blogs in 21 different languages, all about EU policy. So let's first take a look at how it works. Now, I don't want to get too political here. This is a video about the technology and the cost of building this. But the thing is that democracies need civic conversations about the direction they're going, and Europe is no exception. Now, 300,000 blog posts, you could say that this conversation looks pretty healthy, but the truth of it is that there are very few European conversations about Europe. There is a frantic buzz in Brussels, the Brussels bubble, but it's incomprehensible to everyone else. But Blogging Portal's figures show that there is plenty of other content out there. There are journalists, academics, and other sources, including bloggers, pumping out long-form content on EU policy. Now, in a functioning EU online public sphere, these ideas would circulate freely, but they don't, because they're hard to find and they're separated by barriers of language and context. If we could lower the barriers to finding this content, it would be easier for people to find out what other people are saying about the EU. Now that would encourage more people to take part in the conversation, which would then make the conversation larger and even better to join, richer, which raises the rewards of taking part in it, which will stimulate the participation further, and you get into this sort of virtuous circle. So by providing some sort of map, or at least a compass, where is the conversation, we can bootstrap the EU online public sphere into existence. At least that's the theory. Remember, our solution is not limited to EU affairs. Anyone wanting to stimulate conversations and exchanges in any field would benefit from the tool we want to build. So how does it work today? So this is Blogging Portal today. Very quickly, what you've got this content being published, and a network of volunteer editors have identified these blogs and classified them and added them to the system, so every time they publish a new post, it goes into the database. And then that's where the automation stops, basically. The volunteer editors then have to manually look at those posts, tag them, and highlight their favorites. And they all go into the system, they get published. The best ones go into the home page. They also get automatically sent out in the e-newsletters and automatically tweeted. And of course you can search it all. So what's the problem with that? Why does it need to be improved? Well, there's all sorts of reasons. For a start, it requires that volunteer labour. That's basically died away over the past few years. As a consequence, most posts aren't tagged anymore. And if they were, well, the tags aren't exactly easy to use. Moreover, you can only use one tag at a time. Languages are handled badly too. You can filter Blogging Portal by language, but it operates at the level of the entire blog, not the individual posts. So posts from multi-author blogs, which could be in many languages, can be classified wrongly. And that actually happens a bit more often than you might think. But the biggest problem is probably site search. Because in Blogging Portal, we actually search the descriptions of the blog. We don't actually search the posts at all. So, hashtag Europe. Working title. There are a number of ideas for the title, but that's a subject of another video and another post. What we're going to do here is we're going to use machines to take care of the day-to-day curation, and leave, therefore, the volunteer editors to add value where human beings add value best. We're also going to massively improve the search and the user experience. So the basic model is as follows. As before, you've got these people, they're posting content. It could be blogs, it could be something else. And we are still identifying them and adding them manually to the system, because that's the heart of curation. But when a new article appears, the entire text is sucked into the system. Now that circle there, that's hashtag Europe. Now we'll never actually display the full text in the system, because the idea is to send the user back to the original post. We want to drive traffic to the publisher, after all. But anyway, we do pull in the entire text for reasons which will become clear. Then we take a look at it using machine language tools. The first thing we do is we figure out what language it's in. And if it's not in English, then we send it to an automatic translation system to translate it into English. Not because we're going to publish the translation in English. The translations that come out of machine language systems aren't brilliant, but they are good enough for semantic analysis tools. And what they'll do, I'm talking about things like OpenCalais and other things like that, they'll read this text, or the English translation of the original text, and they'll add tags to it. Like in this case, I'm using wind farm, wildlife, jobs, coast, energy. Something about the impact on wildlife of wind farms on the coast, but it will create lots of jobs. And it's about France and the UK. That can generate lots of tags. Then we're going to map those tags to themes. So we're going to get two sets of themes as well. Topical themes like environment and industry, and also geographic themes like France and the UK, but also EU, because France and the UK are in the EU. So we apply rules. And as a consequence, the content in the site is both tagged and themed. And it's themed in terms of topic and also geography. So what? Well, to begin with, each article is tagged and themed every day using a coherent cross-language taxonomy. And we've got the entire article and its English translation in the site. So search is going to be a lot better. But we can do a lot more than that. Because with that information about these posts, about these articles, we can display them in very good ways using tools like RebelMouse and faceted search. So I'd like to use faceted search with a sort of natural language interface I saw recently. Here, for example, is the home page. And it shows the best posts, i.e. the posts which the volunteer editors have highlighted as the best quality posts they saw, about any theme, about any country, written originally in any language at any time. There are over 100,000 results. So I'm not going to provide any faceted search at that level. But all the facets of the search are in this phrase. So if I mouse over the words all themes and any time, I can drill down and I can use faceted search. Perhaps I'll choose environment and this week. So now I've got all content about the environment written this week. And there are 16 results. And they've been tagged between them using the tags biodiversity, renewable energy, water and wind farm that many times. So, well, let's imagine that I click on wind farm. I'm going to get 4 results. Now I've got all results tagged wind farm about all countries written originally in any language this week. And there are 4 results. So I'm going to widen my search again by going from this week to this year. So, all content tagged wind farm, all countries, any language this year, 49 results. So I'm going to further refine the search by adding the tag wildlife. I could remove the tag wind farm by clicking the X, but I'm going to click the plus here, and I'm going to now get all content tagged wind farm and wildlife about all countries written originally in any language this year, 5 results. I've gone from 317,000 posts down to the 5 results I'm most interested in, and it's taken me perhaps 30 seconds at the very most. So that's faceted search, as you probably know. So that's one interface to the site that I'd like to see. Another thing I'd like to do, just because it's cool, is that every time a post comes into the system and is assigned to a theme, I want to tweet it using that theme. And then I'm going to process that using Rebel Mouse. Now that's a paid for service, but they're going to sponsor us for the first year. So there's another interface to the site. It's called the Rebel View, and it's basically just an embed. Okay, it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles with faceted search, but it's beautiful to look at. Basically, you browse by theme. So here is the Rebel View of posts about the environment, and here is the Rebel View posts about the UK. And that looks very nice. Thank you very much, Rebel Mouse. So where do humans fit into this picture? Well, I still want them. Remember, I've got the machines doing this every day, and I've got humans who are volunteers who might do it sometimes, might not. Who knows? We'll see. But basically, I want to replicate the existing model, but take away the load on the volunteer editors. So what I would like them to be able to do is I'd like them to be able to edit the tags. So if they want to, they can see that tag is not the right tag for this post, and they can edit it. And in doing so, they validate the post. Or they could simply agree with the tags applied by the system, in which case they validate it as well. Now, in the interface, I'd like to show people, I'm going to need to scroll out just a bit here. I'm going to show people that that particular post has been validated by editor X, and that particular post has been promoted to the home page by editor Y, because that will tell the user that that particular post has been checked by a human being. It also gives visibility to the editor for their work. So I still also want, therefore, the editors to be looking at posts and favoriting the best posts. And that will still drive the home page, which, as you know, comes in 2 flavors: the Rebel View, the best posts in Rebel View, and the home page, which I showed you at the very beginning, the best content published recently. And that would still send out the best of e-newsletter and posting stuff by the main Twitter account as well. To keep it simple, we'll say that each item can only be edited once to avoid multiple editors editing an item simultaneously or constantly changing its tags or ratings. But many other variations are possible. For example, the home page could show all the posts with the editor's picks highlighting the best ones as chosen by the editors. Or we could have curated sections, which is a very nice idea, where an editor specializes in a particular topic and gets added visibility for it. So, for example, this is the Foreign Affairs theme, which is being manually edited with the help of machines, but manually edited by this particular editor. So whenever the machine thinks a post is relevant to foreign affairs, the machine highlights the editor, who then checks it and curates it. But while these latter ideas are in the specs, they're not in the minimum viable product. The actual specs has a main section called, here's the minimum viable product, this is what we want a price for this. And here's some other ideas for the future so that your technology strategy, your ideas are forward compatible with where this site could go in the future. But more than anything else, I'd like very much your suggestions and questions for how this site could develop. Perhaps there are better ways of doing what we want to achieve here, and I'd be very interested in hearing from you. So the best thing to do is to drop me a line at my email address, and I'll send you the specs. But I'd like, if possible, for you to post your questions publicly. Here's the address of this particular blog post where this video is embedded. But if you don't want to publish your questions, then just drop them a line. Just drop me a line by email. And you'll find all of the posts about this relaunch at that address at the bottom. So I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.